Psalm 98, 98. I sing the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy hand again the victory. The Lord has made known his salvation, his righteousness. He has opened his own in the sight of nations. He has remembered his mercy and his faith to the house of Israel. All the earth that sins the salvation of our God. Shout joyfully to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth in song and praise him to the Lord with the harp and the sound of a psalm, with trumpets and the sound of shout joyfully for Lord the King. The sea rolled and all its fullness, the world, and those who dwell in the rivers clapped their hands, the hills be joyful together before he is coming to judge the earth. He should judge the world and the peoples with equity. Psalm 98 is the third psalm in the ninth hour. It is similar to Psalm 96 and 98, like we were saying. Very similar to 96. It has of course, 97 is related as well, but it also has just a joyful tone. If you look at Psalm 96, it's basically the same, like 96, but 98 is holy praise. For example, 96 has a comparison to the heathens and the instructions on how to worship. So it's not all joy 96, but 98 is just joy. There are no instructions, there's no commands. It's all that joy in Psalm 96. It has a title, which is a very unique title. It's called a psalm. That's it in the Hebrew version. The only one of the 150 psalms that says a psalm. I think that's pretty strange and unique. The Septuagint does have a little bit more of a title. It just says a psalm of David, as far as I'm aware. So it's very short. We assume David wrote it, according to the Septuagint. When it was written, we don't really know. We assume it's about a victory because it's all joyful. So what kind of victory? I guess victory about being released from captivity. Of course, to be the prophetic psalm in the sense it's victory of the Messiah, of God, becoming incarnate, and saving the world. So about redemption. It's one of the enthronement psalms from 96, 97, 98, 99, 99, 100, 101, the enthronement psalms. So like I said, it's like 96. It could be taken from the Magnificat in Luke 1, 46 to 45. If you look at that it has similar theme in Luke 1, 46 to 45. And the themes of Isaiah, especially the latter half, second half of Isaiah, like from chapters 40 all the way to the end for 66, it's kind of has those kind of theme of victory. I love Isaiah because the first half is not as engaging. The second half, it's all like lovely, lovely commands, promises, victorious things from 40 onwards. So just give you an idea what the victory is. It's 9 verses, so it's a bit shorter than 96, 97, I think. Verse 1, I'll sing to the Lord a new song, for he's done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy hand have gained him the victory. You see the word right is used, right hand, so like most people are right-handed, and right hand is, I guess, it's a sign of power, and the right hand, Christ is seated at the right hand of the Father, as we say. So just showing his power. And what are the marvelous things? Any miracle is marvelous, I guess. So anything miraculous is marvelous, I would argue. And there's many things. The virgin birth, in terms of Christ's miracles, nativity is like I said, his passion on the cross, his resurrection, of course, feeding the 5 loaves, 2 fish, etc., etc. Anything to do with his ministry and anything miraculous is marvelous. And salvation is now, like, why do we sing a new song? It's again his victory, so we have salvation. It's now a revelation. It's being revealed in this psalm that Christ will come. So the hidden mystery is becoming open, and that's why it says in verse 2, his righteousness like the Lord has made known his salvation. It's becoming apparent. Okay, he wasn't incarnate on earth, but it's a prophecy about that and showing that salvation and victory is imminent. It exists with Christ at that time and will continue. And his righteousness he has revealed in the sight of nations. So we see that there. Isaiah 52 is, we'll just pick one section from Isaiah that we like. Like I said, from 40 to 66 has lovely themes about victory. 52, 7 to 12. Just read a bit of it. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news. News is the victory of Christ. So his incarnation. Proclaims peace, he brings glad tidings of good things. Proclaims salvation. And you can read it, the rest. And that's why it's a new song, because the good news that never gets old, just like we said in 96, the good news never gets old. And that's why we celebrate the same thing over and over again, because it's so sweet, it's not old, it's always new. And we are new in Christ. And the nations here, his righteousness is revealed in sight of the nations, referring to everyone, the Jews and the Gentiles. Christ loves everyone, wants everyone to come. So it may not have been that clear at the time, like his incarnation didn't exist. It's a bit of a hidden mystery, but it started to, this prophecy shows that Christ will be revealed in the incarnation. Verse 3, he has remembered his mercy and his faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of earth have seen the salvation of our God. Like we said, Christ is concerned about other nations. He's concerned about the Gentiles, the non-Jews. We can just show a couple of verses on that. Isaiah 46, 13. Internet's very slow. 46:13. I'll bring my righteousness near, it shall not be far off. My salvation shall not linger, and I'll place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. So his salvation will be to the house of Israel, like we said in verse 3. And one more quickly. Isaiah 51. 51. March is near, my salvation has gone forth, and my arms will judge the peoples. The coastlands wait upon me, and on my arm they will trust. The peoples, meaning everyone, the nations. The believers. And verse, my salvation will be forever. Verse 8, the last one. But marches will be forever, and my salvation from generation to generation. Okay, verse 4. Shout joy to the Lord, all the earth, break forth in song, rejoice and sing praises. We're joyful. We should be joyful. I think what I found interesting in this section was that sometimes we, especially if we're doing the same thing over and over, it's like old news, or we're doing the same thing, the same message over and over. It's not quote unquote new. We can fall into the trap of not being enthusiastic or the same thing over and over again, and be repetitive and get into a routine, a dry routine. But we should always be joyful and enthusiastic. It's not like a subdued prayer. Our prayer should not be subdued, or like, subdued down, low key. The news is good but not great. No, it's fantastic. We have in total enthusiasm. Therefore, we are joyful. We shout joy for the Lord. And then, in the books, the sound was so loud that everyone can hear it in Ezra. And we kind of want to be like that, where make the church shake when we pray. Like it's so loud and joyful and enthusiastic. Of course, it doesn't mean like if you have a lot of volume, it means you pray better. God is like, God hears all prayers. He is like the little whisperer, and I don't like to I got a soft voice when I pray. I don't like to sing too loud or have like a large volume. So I just put the mic as close as I can so everyone can hear me. But I like to pray a bit like low, and of course God doesn't use the volume, but we should pray enthusiastically, and that's why here the shouting here is good. So the people could not discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping people. People shouted with a loud shout, and the sound was heard of far. So we want to be like that, really like to make the room shake. And Egypt's famous for having the Kiak midnight praises, Coptic month Kiak, the midnight praises really like shake. You can't hear yourself. I attended that once. It was awesome. Like I remember attending in Egypt one of the Kiaks in St. Mary's Cathedral in Port Said, 1,000 plus people. It was amazing in the sense, like the volume was so loud you couldn't hear yourself, and you could not participate. It was lovely. I remember once. I've never experienced this since. Um, when I was at the Koi camp, 500, 250 people plus doing the Akbir together, singing or even quote unquote shouting the Akbir together. It was lovely. It was lovely. You could not sing. You could not join in. So I want to be enthusiastic in our prayer. Definitely. Especially when in a group and community, you can raise the volume and that's like becomes like a powerful song, powerful shout. 5. So it just talks about some of the instruments. Sing to the Lord with a harp and the sound of a psalm, with trumpets and the sound of a horn, which I do for the Lord the King. So I don't know much about musical instruments. It's interesting that harp is said twice. So it obviously has an important function. The harp, these instruments are the common instruments among the Jews at the time. They're obviously not that popular today. You don't really see harps and horns too often these days. The psalm referring to the like contemplation prayer. I was watching a bit of the videos about these instruments. It's cool if anyone knows how to play it, I guess, or has one. Like the harp has to be in harmony, has like the strings, and when the harp is not in harmony, it doesn't work. It has like different volumes of strings, and the contemplation is we have to be in harmony ourselves with God. Our body, soul, and spirit all has to be united to God. You can't have the spirit praying and the body not, and the body praying and the spirit not. We all have to be in harmony, and I guess they have to be in harmony with each other as well. The trumpet, I think it requires like a hammer to build it. So when you have a hammer, you need to it requires like I'm kind of like hammering like force like metal. So it's kind of like tribulation, like producing strength. When your people are strong when they endure tribulation, um, and enduring trials, and I think it produces like a sweet sound. That's the contemplation. And the horns, um, the contemplation I got was that like the horn is played like above the flesh, like you raise the horn up, and kind of like a loudspeaker, right? Sometimes you put your loudspeaker up, and so you put the horn up so you can sing. So it's above the flesh, above the body, like inclined direction, upward direction. So I think that's referring to us like conquering the flesh, conquering the body. That's significant. Of significance of those instruments. You can watch them on YouTube if anyone knows more about that. Like if anyone has played them, probably relate better to that. 6, it's I think self-explanatory, like we said, and again repeating the word shout for joy before the Lord, the King. 7, 8, 9. So it has a similar to 96, except this time it changes. It says the rivers clap heads. Again, everything praising God. The hills, because why? Because God is coming, Christ is coming to judge the earth, and He will judge with righteousness. So it's always from a positive direction. He will righteously judge the world and the people's equity. He will be the source of justice. We don't often find justice on earth, and in the end, the justice that we don't see on earth, He will deal with equity in the end. The sea, like we said, is kind of like the world because it's rough has waves, tribulation, and the sea is salty. So they're referring to kind of like the persecutions and the storms. Um, and like the sea, a lot of it's salt water. So that's like the bitterness of the world. The rivers are sweet. It's not salty. Rivers are sweet and calm, and yeah. Of course, the rivers don't literally clap. They don't have hands to clap, so to speak. But it's just showing that everything we worship. So the bitter and the sweet, the sea and the rivers, they will worship God. And we want to be like the rivers, sweet, calm people, like the apostles, like the good role models in the Bible. Want to be like them. Christ, of course, is very sweet and calm. So we want to be like those are the servants of God. And the reason why it says hands, clap the hands, because pretty much everything you do with your hand, all the work people do with their hands, all these instruments that people use, you need a hand. You can't play an instrument without a hand. It's very, very hard. So if you work with your hands, so we have to have the good actions. We show in our works. And the hills we drove together. So the hills are, I guess, can go two ways. It can be the hills where that people are puffed up and think that they're in the world, they don't need it, or you can look at it from a good aspect, positive aspect, that the people that are righteous, that are humble. And like we said, the last verse talking about the equity, is the source of justice. The difference between 96, it says in the peoples, it's in the peoples with his truth, and 98 it ends in the peoples with equity. And yeah, Christ is the real source of real fair judgment. You can talk about justice for a long time. And we don't deserve his loving kindness. And Psalm 130 comes to mind. If you, Lord, shall mark on who could stand. Let me get a quote so we get on the same page. If you, Lord, shall mark on who could stand? No one. No one. We sin multiple times in the day. We have lustful thoughts, we have pride, etc. So I ask God to give us mercy and treat us according to His mercy. He's so kind that we have His loving kindness, and He treats us equitably, treats us fairly. We don't deserve His fairness. No one can stand. But again, it's from a positive aspect. That's why it's like a celebration. Celebration of the Lord is coming. And that's why all these, the whole world is worshiping God. Seas, the rivers, hills, trees. It says in 96. So we look at it from that aspect. And I think in conclusion, the comfort at 98 is just a psalm of praise. Like most of the psalms at 98, they're all about praises, but this one has nothing but praise. Only praise in Psalm 98. So it's slightly different to 96, even more upbeat and positive than 96. And we take comfort in that, and we try to be enthusiastic in our prayers. We try to shout joyfully to the Lord, and we use our instrument. We use, of course, our natural instrument to pray, which is our voice, and to worship God. But we use those other tools to help. We may not use a harp and horn and a trumpet these days, at least in our church service. But we use other instruments besides our natural instrument, like the cymbals and the triangle. So we try as much as we can to have a right mind in praying with God, even though we're full of lust. And if you, Lord, who could stand? No one. So I think we take comfort in that. And He's revealed Himself to us. He revealed Himself at the time, but He's really revealed to us, and we have the body and blood of Christ today to worship God and to shout joyfully to the Lord.